Howdy, y'all. This is Losman here, and you know what it is? It's Sunday, so that means it's time for a weekly roundup. All right, so let's take a look and see what's been going on this past week. Well, let's see. Last week I went to the Dallas Comic Fair, and it was pretty fun. It was a entertaining event. It was a blast. I mean, I had a great time, and I discussed it last week. So if you want to hear more details about it, you can definitely check out my page, and you can see I even posted a 10 best list of 10 great things that happened at the event, which was pretty fun. I mean, it's great. Like I said, on many occasions and on many videos before, if you get a chance to go to a convention, they're fun. I mean, they're awesome. You don't necessarily have to, if you're a little afraid to approach a celebrity, just go there for the experience. Take pictures with some of the cosplayers. See the booths out there. They have a lot of vendors. Usually have some really neat things out there. You can get some great merchandise, and of course, meeting celebrities is great. I mean, if you're a little nervous about it, I'll tell you this. Most, if not all, celebrities that are there are just happy to meet you as well. I mean, they know that without you, the fan, they would be nowhere. So definitely keep that in mind when you go to a fan convention. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to give you some details about some upcoming events that are going to come up. Next month, I'm going to be volunteering at an event, the Big Tech's comic convention, which is going to be in San Antonio. It's going to be the week of the September, I believe September 22nd, 23rd. It's going to be basically a whole weekend event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, this is a new convention, or fairly new convention that's coming into town. Uh, the Alamo City Comic Con, which is usually the event that occurs in the fall, is kind of really not happening as we know it. I mean, it may be happening, but we're just not getting announcements. So I'm anticipating that we're going to get a postponement on that. But that's okay because this other event looks pretty promising. They have some pretty good guests lined up. It's going to focus on some guests from the Walking Dead and the Sons of Anarchy. So I'm going to really be looking forward to meeting Ron Perlman, which is pretty cool because Ron Perlman has always been one of my favorite actors. I mean, if you don't know Ron Perlman's work, wait, I mean, seriously, come on. You got to know his work. Hellboy, Blade 2, Kronos, hell, any movie, directed by Guillermo del Toro. I mean, he's pretty much in a bunch of them, I mean, he's also in a number of movies with some French movies that escape me right now. But you know what? Let's just say Ron Perlman's a great guy. Oh, yeah, you know what? Beauty and the Beast. I mean, how can we forget that? With Linda Hamilton, awesome. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to meeting Ron Perlman. I mean, he's a really good guy. I mean, really looking forward to that. The other big celebrity I am also looking forward to meet is going to be Sid Haig. Now, I have an autographed picture from Sid Haig from basically was it the Devil's Rejects. So it's already autographed, already signed, which is badass. What I'm going to do, though, is get a picture with him, because apparently he's going to be in Captain Spaulding makeup, which is going to be awesome, because you know what? Nothing beats evil clowns. Yeah, like, this guy here. Ooh, scary stuff. Oh, speaking of Terrifier and David Howard Thornton, well, it looks like David Howard Thornton and Damien Leone, who is the director of Terrifier, will be attending Texas Frightmare Weekend, which is going to be in May of next year, and that's going to be really cool. I mean, I've already met David Howard Thornton, who's a really good guy. I mean, awesome. I mean, it's funny if you've ever seen Terrifier, and Art the Clown is terrifying. I mean, he's really creepy and scary. David Howard Thornton is going to just surprise you because he's funny, he's awesome, he's friendly. Now, he may be in makeup, because I know that I did see some announcements about there might be some opportunities to take photos with him as Art the Clown, which would be badass, because if that's the case, then hell, I'll definitely get a picture with him as Art the Clown, probably having something really fun and exciting. But the poster that I have here, it's already signed by Damien, and I'm definitely going to get signed by David, because I definitely want him to sign this poster because it's pretty badass. This is a neat poster I got from Damon Leone. He was doing I guess a little fundraiser thing, and basically, or was it fundraiser, or he was just selling them? I don't know. Either way, I got a nice poster, so I definitely want to get that signed. The other convention I'll be attending will be the Cult Classic Convention, which will be in February. That's going to be in Bastrop, Texas. Now, that one's a fun one. Of all the conventions I've been to, I would say Cult Classic is probably the most fan friendly, in a sense of you don't get a large number of people who attend. I mean, it's a smaller con, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but they usually get really good guests, especially from various Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies and some decent cult movies. That's where I met David, and I also met Kelly Maroney there. And it's going to be really pretty cool so far. I've seen on the guest list they have Brink Stevens is going to be there, so that's going to be pretty exciting. And I imagine they'll be announcing some other major guests along there. I mean, they usually get some minor people, industry, actors, people who've been in random movies. I mean, it's a fun con. The one I went to last year was pretty cool because what I liked about it is that you could actually engage, have discussions with the celebrity, and there's no large crowds up that you have to worry about. There's no like waiting in line for an hour to get an autograph. And that's pretty awesome because that's where I met Carolyn Williams, Stretch, and we had a great time. I fixed her phone for her. She gave me a big hug, which was awesome. So that was pretty cool, and hopefully I'll get to meet the other actors who played Leatherface because I didn't get a chance to do that. Now, other things to of note, I basically been doing more of my lists. Yes, hashtag Los lists. The list that I'm up to is looks like there's about 72 days to Halloween. So that means I've done about 24, 25, 26 lists. It's a lot of lists. So originally I have planned to do 100, and I intend to do 100 lists. And so I will have 100 lists right about the time that the Halloween comes around. Now, so far the lists have included some pretty cool topics. I mean, not anything super, detailed. I mean, basically, this past week I did one on, really cool movie posters with the word "final" in them. Basically final movies. And I also did a list involving badass, 80s final girls, which was pretty kick-ass. Now, the list I'm going to talk about right now, though, over the next few minutes, is one that I was pretty interested in. It was a little morbid, a little creepy, but it was one that got my attention, and it's going to also bring up a topic that I'm going to discuss in another list. Basically, what I did was I talked about actors who died during the production of a movie. Now, working on a movie is, pretty intense from what I understand. There's a lot of things going on, and in many instances, there are a lot of potential risks that can occur. I mean, you always hear stories about actors getting hurt or, basically running into problems, with things that happen. I know there was a movie I watched recently called Incident in Ghostland, and one of the actresses actually got scarred in the face because of, broken glass that she was told would be safety glass, and apparently it wasn't so safe. So that's pretty messed up. Beautiful young actress, getting a scar on her face. I mean, that's you really shouldn't be doing that. You need to keep in mind the safety of the actors and actresses at all times. Because movies should not be risky in the sense of putting the lives or the safety of actors and actresses. I mean, you need to look out for them. I mean, it's like any kind of job. You don't want to put people at risk unless unless they know what the risks are. And making a movie shouldn't be risky. I mean, it should be something, entertaining. So let's go to the list here. So the first person I'm going to bring up is going to be Ed Wood. Well, actually, it's going to be Bela Lugosi, actually. Sorry about that, Okay. Bela Lugosi, who many of y'all know, was a great actor who basically is best known for playing Dracula. He appeared in the original Dracula, which was the 1931 version, and sort of made a career playing Dracula. I mean, he appeared as a Dracula or a vampire Dracula-like figure in quite a number of movies over his career. Now, toward the later part of his career, he fell into some hard times. Kind of had some problems, and he met a young a young director by the name of Ed Wood. Now, Ed Wood was a big fan of Bela Lugosi, and Ed Wood kind of fancied himself a director. He really wasn't a great director, but he had the moxie, so you had to admire him for that. And he basically cast Bela Lugosi in a couple of his low-budget movies. I believe one of them was called Bride of the Monster, and then Glen or Glinda, which are two of his lesser-known movies. Now, he had intended for Bela Lugosi to appear in a few more movies with him, and he even took some stock footage for it. But as Bela Lugosi's health began to fail, he knew that it would be best to get Bela involved in another project that they can get off the ground, and that's the movie that became Plan 9 from Outer Space. Now, Bela Lugosi does appear in Plan 9 from Outer Space, despite the fact that he died pretty much before the movie got, in production, or basically died during production. And this is a fun story. They used footage from previous screenshots to put into the story, so that way they can have Bela Lugosi appear in the movie. But because his character dies, or actually the actor dies, they had to figure out what to do. And Ed Wood, being the crafty individual that he was, had his wife's chiropractor basically fill in as the character that Bela Lugosi would play, kind of a vampire-like figure. Unfortunately, the individual looked nothing at all like Bela Lugosi. He was actually I think about a foot taller too, so just kind of awkward. So when you watch Plan 9 from Outer Space, you'll see the moments or the scenes with Bela Lugosi clearly. But then when they get to later parts of the movie, you'll see a figure come with a his cape covered like this, so you barely see the eyes, in a menacing way. And that was basically how they, kind of had a fill in for Bela Lugosi. Wasn't really that good, but uh, that's the thing about Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's a bad movie. It's an awful movie, but it's a fun bad movie. I mean, it's one of those movies where if you really want to get the full entertainment value with it, watch Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of it, or just watch it without the commentary. I mean, if anything, you know, you have to admire his desire to want to be a director. I mean, granted, he wasn't the best, and he was terrible at it. But hey, it's a famous movie, and he got his notoriety. People know who he is. I know who he is. All right, so the next movie we're going to talk about is a movie called Brainstorm. Now, Brainstorm came out in the early 1980s, I believe 81, 82, and it's a pretty decent sci-fi movie. It actually kind of deals with not quite virtual reality, but the ability to record memories. And at the time, that was wow. That's an amazing concept, especially in the early 1980s. We still don't have that kind of technology today, but could you imagine the possibilities of that kind of technology? I know it was explored in a movie called was it Strange Days or something? It was a sci-fi movie that kind of took the same concept, and then it's also something you see in a couple of other recent sci-fi movies. But going back to Brainstorm, Brainstorm had a beautiful young actress by the name of Natalie Wood. Now, Natalie Wood was a really good actress. By the time she was 25, she had been nominated 3 times for Academy Awards. I mean, she was talented. She was beautiful. She was an amazing actress. And during the course of the filming of the movie, she was involved in an accident while some of the cast members and her husband were on a boat. She ended up drowning. And I remember I was old enough to remember when it happened, and I remember what a big deal it was because she was a really famous actress. I mean, it would be like finding out today. You figure like an actress by the like Anne Hathaway or Sandra Bullock, someone like that, dying in an accident. I mean, that's how big it was. Or better yet, Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence has Oscars already. I mean, imagine something terrible happening where she perished on while making the film. Well, that's the impact that Natalie Wood had, and yeah, there's some controversy about that too. I know when I had read recently that there's some bits of the story that don't quite add up, and we may very well hear more about this, in the news, especially concerning Robert Wagner's involvement, who was her husband, and Christopher Walken, who was, who played her, on-screen boyfriend. So I don't know. I mean, I'll definitely readdress this in a future video if we need to. But definitely, if you get a chance, watch Brainstorm. I mean, Natalie Wood was just amazing in that role, and it's a great movie. It's really ahead of its time. The next actor is the next movie that had an actor that passed away is The Twilight Zone, the movie, or Twilight Zone, the movie, directed by John Landis. Now, when they were making Twilight Zone, the movie, they incorporated a anthology format where they could have a couple of directors basically involved in it, and Rod Serling had already passed away, so they had Burgess Meredith do the voiceover introduction, which is pretty great. I really enjoyed that about the movie. They had, I believe Steven Spielberg was involved in one of the projects. I think Joe Dante, maybe. I'd have to look that up. But the one I'm going to be focusing on is going to be John Landis. His segment involved a actor by the name of Vic Morrow playing a really racist guy. I mean, this guy is like not. I mean, he's just angry. His character loses a promotion. He basically, to someone he felt was not, well, basically, I think it was a woman or something, or he lost a promotion to someone that he felt, he was very angry about it. He makes comments about Jews. He makes comments about blacks. He's just this racist racist jerk. Well, in the segment, he steps out of the bar that he's at and he winds up back in time. He's in Nazi Germany, and they think he's a Jew. In another segment, he's in the deep South, and they think he's a black man, and he's being chased by the Klan. And in the final segment, he's in Vietnam, and they think that he's, Charlie Viet Cong, the enemy. And that's where Vic Morrow's tragic fate comes in. There was a sequence that involved a nighttime shooting where Vic Morrow and two small Vietnamese children would be in a sequence where a helicopter would be flying above them and they'd have explosions. It would be this spectacular event. And apparently, I think it was going to be the event that showed him, the error of his ways, But something terrible happened. The helicopter had an accident and crashed on them, pretty much killing Vic Morrow and the two little children. Oh God, I remember when I heard about this, it was a huge deal. I mean, obviously, dangerous conditions on the set. Two children working after hours, which was a violation of some sort, or apparently it is now. And John Landis actually faced manslaughter charges. I can't recall what I don't think he served jail time, but he definitely had to deal with some really bad press. I mean, it was really bad. The movie actually did fairly well, and they actually did include as much as they could, and the segment is still in there. They just didn't include the helicopter scene, obviously. But yeah, the scene involving Vic Morrow, you can find it on YouTube. It's not very graphic, other than just the helicopter falling, and it's just a lot of bad stuff going on. So yeah, you definitely, yeah, okay. The next movie I'm going to bring up is an interesting one. It's the movie Poltergeist. Now, Poltergeist has quite a reputation in the industry. A lot of people feel the Pulp production was cursed because of a lot of bad things that occurred during the course of filming of the movies, principally the first three movies that starred Heather O'Rourke. Now, the character or the person I'm going to be focusing on, though, is the first movie. That's going to be Dominic Dunne. She played the oldest daughter of the Freeling family. What had happened was, after the filming had been done, Dominic Dunne had been going through some personal issues involving an ex-boyfriend, and she basically was having problems with him, and he was getting threatening. And, after she was done with filming, she got a job on another production, the miniseries V, and she was cast as Robin Maxwell, who was the daughter of one of the characters. And Robin Maxwell was a pretty major character in V, so Dominic Dunne was gonna another breakout role for her. However, basically a few months after the release of Poltergeist, she had an encounter with her ex-boyfriend, and he ends up killing her. Basically, I think he choked her to death, and it was really tragic because she was, I think she was just barely 22, 23 years old. Beautiful young actress. I mean, if you want to see her in Poltergeist, obviously she's in the movie Poltergeist, and it's real tragic. I mean, I believe her death and Rebecca Schaefer's death, who was another actress a few years later, would help really change the laws concerning stalking and, to help protect actors or actresses, their anonymity, because I know in some of these instances there were things that just were not right. I mean, protective orders that didn't really do anything, and dealing with, when you have a bad breakup, So yeah, it's pretty terrible what happened to Dominic Dunne. I mean, she was a beautiful young actress with a promising career, and her death was wow, God, that was a big deal. Now the next movie, well, actually it's related to the Poltergeist. The second Poltergeist movie, Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. The actor by the name of Julian Beck. Now, if you've seen Poltergeist 2, the antagonist in the movie is this creepy old priest, this Reverend Henry Kane. Very, very creepy. I mean, just like almost skeletonish, ghostly looking figure who has his eye on Heather O'Rourke's character, Carol Ann. And the actor who played him, Julian Beck, was actually battling cancer when he did the role, and he died, I guess, shortly or during the production or shortly after production. And it's kind of maybe not a cursed situation, but obviously, yeah, that was kind of creepy. The fact that he died during the production, and it was basically the the movie was released, and I think they dedicated it to him. So that's another kind of kind of bizarre occurrence. Kind of strange. The final Poltergeist mention I'm going to include that was in this list was Poltergeist 3, and that's Heather O'Rourke. Now, Heather O'Rourke was she played the youngest daughter of the Freelings, Carol Ann, and just about any fan of horror will know who she is. Pretty little blonde girl. I mean, she was a little kid when she did the original Poltergeist, but she's the one who looks at the TV and goes, "They're here." One of the most famous horror movie lines of all time. Now, when they did the sequel, they had her basically in the same general manner going, "They're back." And I mean, she truly was the star of the franchise, of at least the first three, because she's in actually the first three movies. And her death was really tragic. Apparently, she suffered some kind of intestinal blockage after encountering a cardiac arrest. Now, there are also some potential scandals, or controversy concerning her death, especially in light of recent events concerning some of the Me Too movements. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something terrible involving her death. I don't want to speculate or say anything more than that, other than it might be something to look into. Maybe I'll bring it up on another list, but it's definitely a very controversial topic. But that being said, I mean, her death was really tragic. I mean, she was 12 years old when she died. And I mean, she clearly had a big career in horror, after, doing these three roles. I mean, even if she had just retired from acting altogether, she would have still been, remembered as one of the, I mean, well, she still is. It's one of the biggest, 80s star, 80s, horror stars. I mean, wow. I mean, she had quite an impact. So, yeah, terrible. Okay, the next movie I'm going to talk about is going to be The Crow, and that would be Brandon Lee. Now, Brandon Lee was the son of Bruce Lee, the martial arts expert that everyone thinks of when you think of martial arts. Brandon Lee was a child when his father passed away, I believe, and of course, he grew up in the shadow of his father being this famous martial arts, expert and famous, star, and his movies were famous. They're great movies. Enter the Dragon is like one of the best movies, in any genre. I mean, it's an outstanding movie. Well, Brandon Lee had a pretty good future. Basically doing a few movies. I think he had done a movie with David Carradine, and basically he had been cast to play a character in the it's a TV or it's a movie called The Crow. Now, The Crow was basically based on a comic book, and it involved a character, I guess, who was murdered and comes back as kind of like an avenging figure or some sort, which is kind of very very prophetic because as the filming was finishing up, there was a situation where a prop gun had been improperly loaded with either a live round or a dummy round, and basically he was shot in the abdomen, I believe, and he died. A little bit later. I mean, it's kind of tragic. That I mean, basically, accidents happen, but I mean, this was like a terrible accident. You basically lose your star, and the fallout was kind of interesting because, what were they going to do? I mean, he was the star of the movie. Now, most of the movie had already been completed, so I guess it was decided to go ahead and finish the film, and just work around it as best they can. And as a result, the movie actually did quite well in the box office. It got a lot of notoriety, and it was actually got some good critical reviews. And today, it's considered a cult classic. I mean, it's really good movie. It's been. I mean, it came out in 1992, I believe, and it's definitely one of the earliest successful movies based on a comic book that's not a DC or Marvel that I believe. I'm not sure what, maybe it's Dark Horse, but I'd have to look into that. Now, the next movie I'm going to bring up is going to be The Matrix Reloaded. There was a young singer by the name of Aaliyah. She was a young singer, very talented. I mean, she had quite a collection of top hits. Very popular songs back in the late '90s and early 2000s. And then she decided to get into acting, and as a result, she had done some pretty good work in, I believe, the second Interview with the Vampire movie, and she was also in, what else was she in? She was, Yeah. Oh, Romeo Must Die. Oh yeah, that's right, with Jet Li. That's a really good movie. I mean, I really liked her in that role. Well, she was cast for in the sequel to The Matrix, which was going to be Matrix Reloaded, and well, unfortunately, she died in a plane crash. Basically, a few weeks before 9/11. It was August of 2001. And I remember, yeah, hearing about her death because, I mean, wow. I mean, she had a promising career and she was a really good actress, as well as, great singer who was also a good actress. So they recast her role and the film moved on. I mean, so that's what happens. But yeah, it's kind of sad, because she had quite a big future in store. Well, she was already pretty famous, so yeah. Okay. Now, the last person I'm going to mention is going to be Philip Seymour Hoffman, who appeared in quite a number of movies. But the last movie he appeared in before his death was the the Hunger Games, basically the fourth movie, which was the Mockingjay Part 2. He played a character by the name of Plutarch. Was it Plutarch? Yeah, Plutarch Heavensby. And I recall his role from the book was a pretty interesting role. I mean, so, and you know what? That's Philip Seymour Hoffman. I mean, he was just a damn good actor. Whatever role he did, he owned it. And his death was really tragic. I mean, damn, with such a talented, person, and to have that happen was just terrible. So basically, that was the list of actors who died during the production of the movies. So it's one of the many lists I did this that I'm doing for the next 3 months. As we wind up to Halloween, and well, I guess that pretty much brings me to the end of the broadcast. So one of the things I wanted to also bring up was that there's lots of good movies to watch out there, and there's some good movies being released now. I need to go check out. What's out there. I haven't had a chance to watch anything in the theater lately, so just watching movies streaming. I know, like today, I watched. I saw The Devil, and I also watched a movie called Prospect. So I'll discuss those movies later. I mean, they were both really good movies. One's sci-fi, the other is kind of a dark revenge film. You know what? As a matter of fact, I think I will have to address I saw The Devil in a future video because, oh my, that was one hell of a movie. I mean, just easily one of the best movies to come out of South Korea in the past, decade, 15 years or so. So it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, it's a long movie, but believe me, that 2 hours and 20 minutes is well invested. I mean, you will not be bored 1 second by this movie. I mean, you're just going to be wow. I mean, just compelled. It's just wow. But it's very dark, very gory, very disturbing. I mean, it really, wow, really great movie. So we'll go ahead and close out with that, and wish everyone a good week. Get back next week with another roundup and some more movies to talk about. So until then, we'll catch you later, and that's the lowdown with Losman.